All right, we are back. Now it is time to start in on our case modifications so we can get all of this put back together. So I'm just going to set my RGB board aside for now. All right. And so last time I was spent a little time kind of trying to figure out exactly where I wanted things to go. In general, I would like to keep this port, in the same neighborhood as where ports would come out of our RF unit. So I think I'm actually going to try to get it in right here in this neighborhood, which is gonna be tight. This may or may not fit on the other side of this post here. I'm not terribly worried about it because there are support posts, really all over in here. So I don't think it's that big a deal if I end up having to take this one out. But I do think, just as far as positioning goes, that this is where I would like for my port to go. That way we are pretty much in line with the rest of these here. So if you get one of these laser bear connectors, it comes with a guide here. Now the way that this works is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. You literally just hang it on here and figure out where exactly you want the connector to go. So right about here, I think is going to look pretty good. A little bit concerned about this post here kind of getting in the way, but I think if we put it out like so, we should be good. Now it's not perfectly centered here, but it's not too far off, and I think that will look pretty good as far as being in the same neighborhood as this here. So I'm actually going to pull the camera out a little bit higher, just to try to get more of this in the frame. And yeah, we will get making our cuts. All right, I know the angle on this is a little bit weird, but that's about as good as I'm going to be able to get it for now. So put this here like so. I think that is about where we want that port to sit. And I do think I will have enough clearance for that post. So I'm going to grab a Sharpie and we will get that marked. Okay, so kind of firmly hold that in place. Try to. Kind of wants to slide around on you in there. Careful with that when you're working on it. It's okay if that moves on me a little bit. I'm going to have to end up cutting a little bit outside of that anyway. But that is more or less where our port is going to go. So usually the way that I start these, I will drill out my corners. Sometimes I'll even make other, just using a drill with a smaller bit, I'll drill along the top and the bottom just to make it easier for my Dremel to get through. So yeah, that is how I'm going to get started with that. Okay, so we have our port marked. And I've got a drill with a 1/8 inch bit here. And now when you are starting to do your pilot holes, just make sure that you stay on the inside of your mark here. Now, this isn't perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. I suspect I will be cutting on the outside of where it is marked. And the other nice thing about these Laser Bear ports is there's a lip on the back. So it doesn't have to be perfect. This lip is going to cover that up. And make it look really nice. I've done other ones where you have to be more precise. The main thing is work from the inside out until you get it just exactly right. All right, let's see here. I'm trying to figure out the best way I can kind of show this while I'm working on it. All right, so we have our pilot holes cut there. I have even done some of these where I have just used an X-Acto knife to actually cut through the plastic. But for this, I think I'm just going to break out the Dremel and try to go ahead and Dremel that out. And I just use those holes to make it easier. There's less surface for the Dremel to have to cut through there when we go ahead and make those cuts. Okay, so be sure whenever you cut anything with the Dremel that you wear some eye protection. I have had these wheels shear off and break, and you do not want a piece of that going in your eyes. Just always make sure to wear eye protection when you go to do something like this. I'm going to leave this on a relatively low setting. Maybe that's too low. One of these dremels can jump around on you, so make sure you have a good handle on it. Alright, that's not too bad. You can see I'm just starting to make my cut there with the Dremel because the disc is going to be a little too wide for that. So I'm just going to kind of get that started, and I will probably use an X-Acto or something to try to get through there. All right, making pretty good progress. All right, I've got a little X-Acto knife kit here. It's kind of handy. I guess I can show it here a little easier. And it has a little saw attachment that should do to get me through that bit there. At least we will try it and see if that seems like the right way to go about it. That's going to take forever. I'm not feeling that saw. Let's see if a different bit will get the job done better. So that is a pretty good start. Now that we have our hole started, we can work up to those edges with our files and see if we can get our port to fit through. Obviously, this is still way too small. But the nice thing about doing it that way is that you don't end up cutting the hole too big and messing it up. But yeah, actually for where that is now, I might just try to clean those edges up with my blade a little bit before I really get in there and work with the files, because that takes a while. But I'm not going to do all of that on camera. Basically, you're just trimming it up. Okay, so have our hole cut, and I didn't even have to get after that with files. I just carefully shaved it down using my X-Acto, and you can see that the port will get it lined up, pop right in. That looks great. I think that's a great position for it, actually. So the only issue with that here is there is no way for me to get that board in there without taking out this post. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably just use my Dremel and Dremel that out. And again, I think that there's still, plenty of support for the board in there with my other posts here. So I don't think it's any great loss taking that one out. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do that next. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take that post down so I can get my multi-out PCB in there. And I'm gonna be careful, try to make sure I don't hit this. And there should be plenty of room to get that multi-out PCB in there. Okay, so we are now actually ready for that to go in, but the last thing that we need to do is actually cut our pallet switch, and that is going to go over here on this side. So I'm going to grab my drill bits and find the right size. Okay, let's see here. Usually I just kind of eyeball this. Like it's maybe a little bit bigger. Let's see. Maybe a little bit bigger than 1/4 inch. Maybe 5/16. Yeah, 5/16 looks pretty good. In fact, looks like the threads might even have to bite it a little bit, which is good if you use a 5/16. I'm looking kind of see. Yeah, I'm going to try to not have to trim that tab. I don't know, maybe I will a little bit. We'll see. All right, so take my other drill bit out here, and we're going to want to mark that right about where my finger is. And that looks pretty good. All right, not too bad. Okay, so really from here, the next thing we need to do is go ahead Well, I'm not going to clip this into place quite yet, in case I have to move this at all, or in case I discover like, oh, I need to maybe trim this post down a little bit more. So I'm going to just let that be for the moment. But what we can do is go ahead and put our layer motherboard. Well, let me rephrase that. We need to actually hook up our RGB board, and then we can put everything back in the shell and start to get things oriented. All right, so we're going to want all of our wires to run underneath the board like so. All right, and our RGB board is firmly secured down into our pins there. All right, now we are ready to put the board in the shell. And I'm not even hooking anything up yet. I just want to kind of do a test fit. Oh, there we go. First things first, let's try to get this multi-out pushed in there. Oh yeah, that's going to fit in there just fine. Doesn't look like I need to mess with the that post anymore. Seems like there's plenty of clearance for the wires. These guys, I'll just kind of put them under there a little bit. Power board. Palette switch. And it's going to go in there like so. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to make that hole a little bit bigger. Just because I'm not really going to be able to screw this in, because that's going to bind my wires up. So I might have to make that just a little bit wider, and then cut my my spot for my nub to sit in place, just to keep it from moving when you're changing channels. But otherwise, this all looks pretty good. And I'll probably end up just sort of sticking the voltage regulator here. I believe it does have a little piece of double-sided tape on the back. In the past, I've actually hooked it, or I've screwed it into where that post used to be. I could probably also do it here. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, this is all good. This lets me know that pretty much everything is ready. I can go ahead and tap my audio from the motherboard, and I can finish hooking up the power regulator. So that's kind of our final test fit there. Maybe not final. I'll have to say I might have to mess with this some more after I make that just a little bit bigger. Okay, we are getting there. So let's go ahead and get our audio lines hooked up. Now they are going to hook up to lines 1 and 2 of our CPU, which are, it's just literally the first two legs on the IC right here. That's going to correspond. So basically, blue is going to be pin 2, yellow is going to be pin 1. Double check my diagram just to make sure that is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and basically clip mine off right here, and we will get those ready. I could even make it a little bit shorter if I wanted to. All right, get our wires tinned, turn on my heat extractor here. You know what I'm going to do actually before I hook that up? I'm going to pull this board one more time, because I actually want these, I want my power board to actually sort of come up and out the back here. It's got a long enough cable that it doesn't really matter, but that is how I would like to have it. All right, board is secured. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is pre-tin the legs of the CPU. Managed to bridge those. No big deal. I'll just pull that off with a little soldering wick. Legs 1 and 2 of our CPU are now ready. So actually, I'm just going to go ahead and pre-tin my iron. And we'll move this into place. I think 2 is going to be the one to hook up first. I'm actually not crazy about that. Pull that one back. Pretty good. All right, so there is our audio hookup. We'll do a continuity check real quick. Make sure nothing's bridged. All good there. Good. All right, so we are all hooked up properly there. Okay, so lastly, we need to hook up our additional power regulator to the pins of our new 78SO5 voltage regulator that we installed. And I believe pin 1 is our VIN, which is our unregulated voltage in, middle is ground, and I believe that the third leg, the leftmost one here, if you're looking at it head on, I believe that is our 5 volts out. Let me check my diagram and make sure I'm telling you the right thing. No, it's saying the other way around. Looking at my diagram here, it's saying that leftmost leg is the unregulated VIN, ground is center, and that the 5 volt output is the rightmost. But we can actually test this to make 100% sure. So what I'm going to do is just go get my NES AC adapter, plug it in here. I don't even need to turn the NES on, but I will be able to see which pin the voltage is actually coming in on. Okay, so I have the NES hooked up here. I have my power line running to it. It's hard for me to actually get all this stuff on camera here, but it is plugged in. And I also have power running to the board. And so I'm going to switch it on. Then we are going to measure our voltage. So this outer area here, this strip is ground, and we can test each pin. So we can see here, there's about 8 volts coming in directly off of our power supply. And our output voltage from that is exactly 5 volts. So we are looking good to go there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and get our pins ready to hook up our additional voltage regulator. So in order to do that, we want to go ahead and put some flux on there, and then we're going to tin, looking at it from the bottom side here, the middle and left leg. So our VIN is going to be this one here, and that is ground. Okay, so I need white and red, and I don't need a terribly long run of those. Okay, so we're going to get our wires ready, get those tinned up, white, red. Okay, and I actually need to grab my, what I found it's kind of handy is I actually hook this thing up to the back of my chair, and I can bend it over and get it right wherever I need it, where I'm working. Middle stool isn't always the most comfortable to sit on, but it works out for this really well. All right, there's our VIN, and there is our. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with my ground. Well, no, we'll start with power. I'll work my way left to right because I'm right-handed. That's usually the easiest way to go about doing things. All right, we're going to hook up our VIN first. All right, there's our VIN line. I'm not crazy about that. There we go, that's better. All right, so there is our ground and our VIN. And this is another important one to check continuity on. Make sure that we didn't bridge anything. Okay, nothing's bridged there. Yeah, I think we're good there. I'm not sure why it's giving me that short beep. All right, now I'm not getting anything. Yeah, that is strange. Do a little more testing. Be right back. All right, I think we're all good. That is probably either because my battery is a little low on my multimeter, or just because there's a gigantic cap inside the power module there. So I'm actually not worried about it. I think we're good. If it was definitely a short, and I held it on there, it would keep going. So I think we are all good there. So yeah, let's go ahead and get these guys put together here, and then we will hook them up to our power board. Okay, so I'm gonna use the same green that I was using for the rest of my power lines. All right. Oop, no, still hot. Okay, let's go ahead and strip our wires here. All right, so let's go ahead and hook our power up to our board here. So ground will be first. All right, there's our ground. And last, we will hook our pin up. Okay, so our power board is now hooked up and good to go. I think I'd done one of these before where I had even actually bundled these sort of here towards the end, but definitely not strictly necessary. Okay, we're doing pretty good here. So we are actually done with all the wiring. This thing is totally put together. Now we just have to fit it all back in the case and test it. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so you can see here that I actually have put another rotary switch in there just to sort of test fit. So I'm going to kind of pull this back out. And what I did was I got this about as tight as I could to where I don't actually have to screw the rotary switch in. It will just sort of slide into place. But I am going to need to cut a little bit of the tab off on my rotary switch. But I also went ahead and made this hole just a little bit bigger. You can see that it's like a little bit jagged around the edge. You won't see that with the washer when it's actually hooked up, but I did make that hole just a little bit larger using my X-Acto and actually just using the drill bit and kind of moving it around a little bit. Okay, so we need to clip our tab here at the top. All right, there we go. I just took a little bit of that off. And I'm going to push this back in. What I'm going to do is mark where that tab sits right there on top. If I can find my marker. Okay, so I'm going to mark right where that tab sits in the plastic. And I'm going to cut into the plastic a little bit just below that. What that is going to do is make sure that our rotary switch does not rotate when you go to use it. And let me see, what tool do I want to use for that job? Might do the trick, actually, just kind of scoop that out a little bit. I'm gonna try it anyway and see what we get. Actually, I think I'm going to make some initial cuts first, and then go in and try to use that. Okay. I haven't used this for this purpose yet, so we will see how this goes. I may or may not like. Ooh, great. We will see here. Pretty easy to slip with it. Yeah, I'm not 100% on this. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. I don't think it's easy enough to control. I've got one that has flat face on it. I'm curious to try that. Sort of suit, I think, here. Yeah, I don't really care for that one either. I think the way I did it in the past was that I used a smaller drill bit and just went really, really shallow with it. All right, you know what? I'm going to do the rest of this off camera just because it is not easy to capture it at that angle. But basically, we're just making a small indentation down in that plastic. Okay, so I got my chunk cut out there, and I ended up using this little like router bit on my Dremel to get that to look the way I wanted. And I think that's going to pretty much be perfect. Once that slides in there, that will not go anywhere. That will be good. All right, so let's go ahead and get this stuff put in and secured. So we are actually going to clip in our port. Oh yeah, no, that's cool. That's like really securely, that's snug. Fits well. Like this side hasn't quite clipped around all the way. There we go. Yeah, put a little pressure on. All right, there we go. I do not think that is going anywhere. All right, so let's go ahead and put our board in place. So basically, I'm going to let that kind of power. Let me see here. How do I want to do this? So these two bits are going to kind of cross over and behind each other. And power, I'm just going to sort of flop out on top here for now. Okay, all good. All good here. I'm going to sort of route this power up this way and pull my plugs out from underneath. Okay, seems like something is causing a little bit of interference here. So I need to figure out what. There we go. Okay, we're all sitting down in there just right now. I may just sort of secure this here, like so. I don't really have to worry about that at the moment for testing. You don't even really have to plug the controllers in, but I'm going to. Okay, so I'm not going to actually screw anything in yet. I'm just going to set it all in there and put my pin connectors up and everything, and I can do my testing before we sort of, finish screwing it all back together. Okay, so here's our pin connector. That's not sitting down in there, right? Okay, let's see what's going on here. Could just be kind of the way I've got the wires run at the moment. Okay, so we are actually ready to test. Plug my power in and get my line set up and ready. Okay, moment of truth time. Let's see if this thing works. I've got a copy of Metroid Mother that I made a reproduction cartridge of. Figured it'd be a good one to test it. All right, and you can see that I have a standard SNES RGB cable hooked up. Okay, fingers crossed. I hear it. Sounds good. I think we're in business. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. All right, I'm gonna have to face the TV to play. There's too much lag trying to do it through my capture card here, so I'm gonna move. All right, super cool. Yeah, we are in business. So let's go ahead and check our palettes, make sure that our palette switch works. All right, yep. Okay. And this last one should turn it off because it would be composite. Yes, it is correct. Super cool. Well, that is super satisfying. Nothing feels better than you get your mod work done, you get it all put together, and it works first shot. That is just the best. So the next thing we're going to do is get this NES button back up and ready to go. Okay, so you can see that we are mostly buttoned back up here. I decided not to do the RF shielding on this. It's really not necessary. And yeah, you can see I've finished securing the SNES multi-out into place. Same with the palette switch back here. And I just used the double-sided tape on the back of the extra power board to secure it on top of the RF module. And that is pretty much it. We just need to put the top back on this and it will be ready to go. Okay, so our NES is buttoned back up. The last thing that I need to do though is finish putting my knob on here. And I like using these little, I think they're guitar knobs actually, but I think they look really, really sharp. And that is what I use for pretty much all of these. So I like to have mine pointing straight up for the top position, or for the first palette position. And there's a tiny little Allen screw in here, and that is how you secure it, the knob here. Okay, so that's going to be our position 1. All right, and that is about as tight as we want. All right, so that is our off position, palette 3, palette 2, palette 1. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, that wraps it up for our NESRGB mod. I had a lot of fun doing this. The NES is really one of my favorites to work on. It's probably my favorite retro console and my favorite to collect for. Yeah, and I had a blast doing this. I think Hap is going to be stoked when he gets it. I really think that it kind of speaks for itself visually. It just looks and sounds amazing. In my opinion, totally worth doing one of these. And actually, I've got a couple more NES-related projects coming up after this. So if you enjoyed this, please hang around. And of course, if you have any questions about, doing an NESRGB mod or anything else, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'm always happy to answer as best I can. And yeah, if you enjoyed yourself today, I always appreciate, a like and a subscribe and all that stuff. And we will catch you next time. Bye now.